Hello, my friends, and welcome to How to Plan a Unified Game Day. My name is Craig Tornquist, and I'm delighted to be joined today by the Director of Young Champions, Lisa Graham. Lisa, welcome, and let me begin by asking you, Lisa, why are we doing this video?
Thanks, Craig. That's a great question. And it's kind of come from a lot of reflection over the last few years in noticing that across the state, different districts do game day slightly different in each area. And I get a lot of questions about how do you do it? How do you plan this? How do you know who's going to help? Those kinds of things. And in our conversations, we've decided that it might be good to have some uniformity to this. This is not a unified game day, a Young Champions game day is not a fun field day. At the end of the year, where there's a bouncy machine, and a bubble machine, and a bouncy house, and everybody's running around in chaos. That is super fun. We love those too, but that's not what a game day is. A game day is truly a unified event with athletes and partners coming together, competing. There are real winners and real losers. There are first place ribbons. There are participation ribbons, but they're going for the gold. They want, every one of those kids that are running want a blue ribbon. They want to be first. And so this is a structured and organized activity that is run just like a track meet. And we have found, and we love going to other places. I don't get to go to too many because I work at a school during the day, but I have visited a few other ones in my region. And they do all look different. And some folks maybe just don't have an idea that it needs to be more structured. So this hopefully is going to square that up.
Well, you've been running a unified game day for your county for several years now. I want to talk about the process that's worked well for you. You've indicated that the first step is forming a planning committee.
So no man is an island, right? This is a huge activity. It's a huge event, and to try to do it alone is just asking for trouble. So, and people need to have buy-in. So when we talk about doing it in Grant County, I need to clarify that we have 5 districts and like 13 schools that are involved. So if you are a standalone district, you'll probably be doing this at 1 or 2 elementaries, and that's okay too. We host our event at Indiana Wesleyan University during the NAIA National Championships. So we have last year, I believe, 700 volunteers. We didn't used to have that. We used to have, oh, we hope we can get every para to come and every teacher, and let's get some parents and let's get some high school kids. It doesn't matter who your team is. It just is important that you have a group of people that are planning this and everybody knows what their expectations and responsibilities are.
So, who are some of the key players on your planning committee?
I think it's very important to start from the top. If you don't have buy-in from the superintendent and or building principal or leader, it makes it difficult to run smoothly. One year in Grant County, we had the entire thing planned, and then a principal came back to one of the buildings and said, "Oh, I've already planned field day for that day." And so that year, none of those students got to come because field day took precedence. So it's important to make sure that you're looking at district calendars, district events that are already planned. That's why planning it, ahead of time is so important. Although I want to also say to those new people that still want to do this, it's okay to start small. And even if you're just now starting planning in February, you can still pull something off this year, just knowing that next year you'll have so much more time. So it is a school year process. I know some people that this year will have next year's date planned already, just because you get it on that calendar early.
Okay, so you have an administrator, obviously teachers, special ed, general ed. Who else?
Also, think about if you have PE teachers or adaptive PE teachers, occupational therapists, physical therapists. I have everyone on my team come uh, doing a variety of things. So I have some specialty teachers, the teacher for visual impaired, the teacher for deaf and hard of hearing. They all get involved. We have a young man and sometimes more students that are deaf that sign the national anthem. Well, that requires my teacher to make sure that they know the national anthem and they've practiced that because they're doing it in front of a large group of people. So, that's something on the checklist of things to ensure that you have done. And then lots of volunteers. Those volunteers can be parents, although you want the parents to enjoy it just like they would if they were going to a varsity high school track meet. So you really need to weigh that out. Do you want parents volunteering, or do you really just want them to enjoy watching their child compete and do something that they have never been able to do before? We use a lot of paraprofessionals. Another fun thing that I like to do is if a school already has a Champions Together program at the high school, have the high school athletes come because our young kids in Young Champions get to see what they have to look forward to. So those are their idols, those are their heroes. They want to be just like them.
That's true. And watching the interaction between the older and younger students is really a lot of fun. Okay, the next step is signing a commitment letter with Special Olympics Indiana. Why is that important?
So the importance of that is it is truly almost like a contract between Special Olympics Indiana and your district. And every year it's got this year's date on it. And that's just important because a commitment is something that you take seriously. You're signing your name to the document that says your intention is to hold this event and that you are going to provide a unified event to your community. And Special Olympics is saying, and we want to partner with you. We want to provide you with the equipment and the resources you need to hold a very professional event for your families and your community. And these are the things that we'll do for you. And so the two come together and that commitment form is signed. And then that's when the planning starts.
And while Special Olympics events are fun, there is real value in competition.
Correct. Again, we all love to have fun, but it is a competition, and that's what that's what teamwork is. That's what learning to get better when you're going to practices, because this event just doesn't happen in one day. We want your student athletes to be practicing and getting better and setting goals and challenging each other. And all of those things come within practice. It's that competition at the end that says, hey, we're ready. We're ready to go. We've learned these new skills. We've been getting stronger, faster, and we're ready to show the world what we can do. Even if your world is your community, we are here and we're ready to compete.
I love it. Okay, there are many benefits to being a young champion school. What can schools expect once they've signed that commitment letter?
Typically, remember, Young Champions is a partnership between Special Olympics Indiana and the professional organization called ICASE, Indiana Council of Administrators of Special Education. And so when I go to the fall conference, we have a table there. There's a Special Olympics table. We get people to sign up there. Sometimes people that come that are brand new have never heard of unified athletics. So we have that opportunity to talk with them. They sign up and say, we're very interested. And so we get new names and new emails. We put all of those emails together in about October or November. We start communicating with you about this event that's going to happen in the spring. And that looks like me putting all of those emails together, sending out the commitment forms, finding out if you're a new district and you need equipment. So right now, I'm getting a list of schools together that need new equipment because they've never competed before. And that equipment is a very nice package that comes to your school. You unload a very large box, everything from batons and different things that you can throw, kick, and hit so you can practice those skills with your students. Color coding objects so that you know where to place them so a student can practice where to stand before they get ready to run. There's a complete systematic approach to how to teach this, but all of that equipment comes to you free. Special Olympics Indiana pays for all of that. For districts, you get that one time. And then if you need to order more things, the great thing about your partnership with Special Olympics is once you begin competing, there are stipends available. And so, for example, if you compete this year and you fulfill the commitment that you signed, you can write a letter to Special Olympics and they will reimburse you up to $1,000 for the equipment that you've used, or maybe you bought t-shirts, or maybe you paid for lunches during your event. All of those things can be reimbursed back to the district. That's the beautiful thing about this partnership. So I'm explaining all of those things to districts so that they have an understanding of, hey, how do you want to spend that money? These are some of the things that you can do. And then I provide a PowerPoint of all of the things that schools need to feel like they know what to do to plan for this game day. So we do that. We also provide backdrops and professional photography kind of opportunities. So at your event, we'll bring a backdrop that says Young Champions, that your families and your teams and your coaches and athletes can stand in front of. Those are also all free of charge to every district that partners as a Young Champion school.
That's all great. Okay, I want to change gears now. Let's talk promotions. How do you recommend spreading the word about your unified game day?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you've got buy-in from your administration, which means that it's okay to hold this event. So use social media. Most districts now and most individual schools have social media or newsletters that principals send home on a weekly or monthly basis. Those are great ways to do that. Join the social media pages that Special Olympics has. There are a couple of different, there's Instagram and Facebook pages that you can go on and see what's going on within the state, what other schools are doing. But one of the main things that you can do, we talk about the four pillars, and you and I haven't talked about this on this recording, but on our previous Young Champions 101, we go into the four pillars, which is unified leadership for student leadership, whole school engagement, fundraising, and unified events. If your school does all four of those, you can become a banner school. And we'll go into what that means in a little bit, but one of those is whole school engagement. How do you determine who your athletes and partners are? How do you get the word out to the adults in your building and in your community that this is going on? One of the ways is to do a free assembly with Craig. And I know you're going to show them a flyer in a minute, but a free assembly with Craig, if I could just say in 30 seconds, is probably the best thing that you could do for your district. One, it is great entertainment. You do a fantastic job with kids. You have some kind of magic relation that you can immediately connect with students from all over the state of Indiana, whether it's an urban district, whether it's a rural district or a suburban, you talk to kids all over the state of Indiana and you talk to them and promote the lesson of inclusion. Inclusion with disability is so important in our schools that all kids have an opportunity to do the same kinds of things. And so you go to different schools and you promote that and it's all free.
Well, thank you, first of all, for your kind words. Being involved with Young Champions has been one of the coolest things I have ever done. We do have two options that I'd be happy to talk to you about. Our traditional in school assembly is a 45-minute program. I bring in all the AV equipment, and we have a great time with your students and staff. There's a lot of music, tons of audience participation. We laugh a lot. We talk about what it means to be a unified champion school, how to earn the banner. And we also talk about making sure that we're being kind and including students of all abilities in the wonderful things that are going on in your school every single day. The other option we have is a virtual school assembly. And this involves me working with your principal or another one of your young champions cheerleaders there in your building. I need to set up a 15-minute recording session on Zoom. I have that person record some lines. We then intersperse it into a customized video, which I put together for your school. And it appears that the principal's in their office, I'm in the studio, and together we're talking to the students live in their classroom. It's not live, but it does create that illusion. And I upload that as a YouTube video, share it with you, and then you can send it out to your teachers and watch it at whatever time is convenient for you folks. Lisa can give you my contact information. If you have more questions, I'd be happy to visit with you about either option that would work best for your building. Okay, Lisa, now it's time to plan the actual unified game day. Can you please walk us through that process?
So after we've decided we're going to do this event and we have equipment and we have buy-in, then we have to start planning. So Special Olympics talks about this being like a 12-week kind of season, just like you would have a sports season. It's like a 12-week season. So think about coming back after the holiday break in December. So you're starting fresh in January. You now start putting that together. Maybe you now communicate with the teachers in each building and talk about when the game day is and what students are going to participate. It most typically is not every student in the building because again, it's not a field day, it's a special event. So depending on how big your district is, it will depend on how many of those students in each building are participating. But you're going to,
Excuse me, Lisa, just a quick question. Is the goal a one-to-one ratio, an athlete being a student with an intellectual disability and a partner being a student without an intellectual disability? Because we
yes,
want them paired together, right? So is the goal one-to-one?
the goal could be one-to-one, yes. There may be more students with disabilities, that happens often, but I want to be careful to say that we're pairing them. Because sometimes people think pairing them means I'm the student with the disability, you're my partner, and you're gonna lock arms with me and you're gonna take me around to places because you're smarter and you're more experienced. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a unified event where students who happen to have disabilities are competing with students who are their partners or their peers in their building who love them and respect them and want to compete in something with them. So, you may be running 3 separate events than I'm running. We may not even be in the same heats at all. But during the day, when you're competing, I'm cheering you on because you're my best friend. And when I'm competing, you're cheering me on. And when we're in our team camp and neither of us are competing, we might be singing songs or dancing or, playing some other kind of game with other peers that we are friends with.
But
So,
together you're both earning points for your
yes,
team towards a
yes.
larger goal of a team victory.
Correct, correct. So, yes, let's go back to that. We want as many peers or partners is the word that we use in Young Champions as we do athletes. Okay, that is a goal. So now you're reaching out to teachers and you're identifying who those students might be. And as you're doing that, you're also explaining to these students what events they have to choose from that they may want to participate in. So, for example, it might be somebody that doesn't want to run very far, so they're going to run a 50-meter race. They're going to either run or they're going to walk, depending on their ability, right? There's also a 100-meter relay. And if you are in a wheelchair or you use a walker or you have some kind of mobility problem, then you may be walking, you may be being pushed in your wheelchair. You may be using a walker to get across. You're staying in your lane and you may not be going as fast as the person next to you, but you're setting a goal for yourself to go as fast and as far as you can. And then we have field events like a tennis ball throw for those that have less dexterity than somebody that might throw a softball. And then we also have a standing long jump. So there are field events and there are running events. Typically, you pick 2 running events per athlete and 1 field. So the total is you're involved in 3 events the day of the competition.
All students, all
Everybody.
athletes, all partners, they're doing 3 things.
Yes. Now you can imagine how many races that might be. So in my example, when I told you that we have 5 districts and like 13 schools, and we have middle schools too. So mine is K through 8th grade. It's a lot of heats. So if you're not a track person, and believe me, I am not a track person. I am a volleyball basketball girl. I never ran track. I was probably the slowest girl in my school. I didn't have any idea how to set this up. That's why you start looking for people now that get it. I happen to have somebody that ran track in college, and I have friends that coach track. And so I went to them and said, we would love for you to help. Would you maybe help us set up the heats and help us understand what that looks like? And then I took my coaching friends and I said, hey, I'd love to give you a free t-shirt and free lunch. Will you come and be our starters for the day? Because they understand the organization and the structure of what a track meet is. So you got to find those go-to people. They're not hard to find. Every district has a track coach, or somebody who's been involved in track. So that is something that you need to start looking for. But I have some great spreadsheets that I'd like to share with you, and we're going to share those out. That is an example of how we do our heats. One of the other things that I shared with you earlier is we're so technical. The way that we determine how students should be in heats is a number system.
A number system. What is that?
Level ones are on the slow side. I would have been a level one. I'm going to be with all the number ones, and we're going to have maybe 5 heats of number ones running together. The reason we do that is you're not going to get creamed, as I would say. I'm not going to still be standing while somebody's already at the finish line. I'm going to be running with other people of similar skills than me. Number twos are your medium. You've got a little heat to your feet. You're a number two. And our number threes are, man, they're smoking fast, right? And here's what I love. You could have a smoking fast student who I would call an athlete. Maybe they have Down syndrome, maybe they have some type of intellectual disability, but they are fast. They're running next to a partner that's also fast. But I also have a partner who is really slow, and they're in the number one heat. It's not about your disability or your ability intellectually. It's just about where we meet together so that we can run this race, and you're running with other student athletes that are of like skill. But that's the beauty of it.
Can the lead up to your unified game day, the practices, the trial heats, determining which events your students want to do, can all of that be done during school hours, during the school day?
Yeah, people get really hung up on this. I can't do it. There's not enough time during the day. My kids can't stay after, they don't have a ride. So the answer is yes to everything that you said. Yes, you could do it during recess. Yes, you could set 15 minutes aside during the day when everybody's got ants in their pants and, run down the hallway. Yes, maybe your PE teacher is looking for a curriculum that all of his or her students could use. I have a curriculum for them free that for 12 weeks they could be practicing throwing, kicking, catching, all of those things in this curriculum. And not only can their students with disabilities benefit from it, their friends without disabilities can also gain skills. Maybe their skills are patience and cooperation and coping, and they're learning to be teachers. Um, but that curriculum is available, and I am happy to share that as well. Enough for 12 weeks worth of. So you can do this in a variety of ways, but you do not have to have any kind of special time. It can get done in a variety of ways.
All right, that's good to know. Now it's time to let parents know what you're planning. Do you have templates of the documents that you use that you can share with other schools?
Yes. We've produced in Grant County a letter that goes home to the parents of partners and athletes that are going to be participating, asking for their permission, explaining to them that we want them to be a part of it, we want them to attend, that we'll have heat sheets is what we call them, that'll show them exactly during that day when their son or daughter will be competing. Many parents, will go to work late or leave early or come during their lunch, or maybe even take the day off because it's that big of a thing, that their son or daughter is competing this day. So yes, we have letters. We also have an entire agenda that starts from the very first second that the buses show up that day to the very last piece of trash that we pick up at the end of the event. And it breaks it down. Why would I not share that? We've learned good, bad, and ugly from it and tweaked it along the way. It's now my go-to template. It's got everything from cue the national anthem to the first team walks out. We always have a parade of athletes. That it's very much like the real Olympics. Every team goes around. We have fire trucks and firemen and police officers and therapy dogs. And, it's a big deal. But we have something that shows you all the things that we do. So that'll give you an idea. And then maybe you have other ideas that you would add to it to make it your own for your district.
One of the biggest details can be transportation. Do you have any tips on how to handle that?
The sooner you can plan and communicate that with your transportation department, the better. That's number one. Um, Rules of thumb to make sure that you avoid. Do not do it during iLearn week. Um, that is absolutely a no-brainer. Students with disabilities and without disabilities are taking that state exam. It's stressful. Everyone's stressed. Your wife's a teacher. You know probably how she comes home after testing all week. The other thing I would say is sometimes students with disabilities or a student that has an IEP are given extra time, and that often is above and beyond the days of testing. There might be another week of testing in your school, so try to avoid those dates. Um, our county program does it, like I said, with the NAIA, so I don't really get to choose that date, but if it was going to be during testing, I would have had to say no. So our problem with the way we do it is it's very late in May. I kind of like that sweet spot of like the second or third week of May. But because we partner with the university, ours this year is May 19th, which is a Monday before the national championship starts on Wednesday. That same week is also the last day of school on the 22nd and 23rd for 5 of our districts. So they start planning those field days that we've been talking about. Typically, those field days are the day before school or the last day of school. And that's working out great this year. The very first year of the NAIA, so 3 years ago, we didn't have 2 elementaries because they were doing field day and their athletes wanted to be with their friends at school. Completely understood. So we're blessed to do this on Monday the 19th, and then our kids get to have a great day, and then they still get to go to their field day on like the 21st. And guess what? They're out of school on the 22nd. So we end the year with a bang. But you got to get those buses.
Let me ask you this. If they're in a school system where they need to pay those bus drivers, is it okay to use a portion of that $1,000 stipend to cover those expenses?
Yes. And what Special Olympics has always said is send us a letter saying that you participated in this Young Champions event and how great it was and what you did, and ask for $1,000 reimbursement, but don't specifically ask for it's for this, this, and this. You don't need to do that. You're just saying that you fulfilled your commitment. You held the game day on this date. You had this many athletes and this many partners. It was a great day, and you're requesting money. Then that money goes to directly to your school district, and then you at the district level can decide what that money goes toward. But absolutely, it could go toward gas. It could go toward stipends for the drivers. Whatever your district needs that money for, you have the autonomy to use that.
Lisa, the students and staff that attend your unified game day always look great. Where do you get those beautiful shirts?
I have a great business here in Grant County. And in fact, they have an online store for all of Young Champions in Indiana. And so we've created this store that all of our schools can use. We send the link to it. It shows the logo, and we kind of play off of the 2025 this year. It started in 2020. So in those zeros, we use the branding that Special Olympics Indiana approves. And so that shirt is used. It can come in every district color, every size possible, and you go right online. And as a district, you order it and it gets delivered straight to your door. You don't have to drive to Marion, Indiana, where this store is. They send it all to you. You also are welcome to use your own place. This just seems to work because I set it up for everybody, and it's just click, click, click.
How do folks pay for those shirts?
Lots of different ways. Lots of different ways. I would say the majority use the reimbursement dollars for those shirts, but we haven't talked about fundraising yet, and that is something that is very important. In Grant County, we do a couple of fundraisers, and with the fundraising money, sometimes I pay for shirts that way. When we do it with the NAIA, I have a lot of people to buy shirts for, and $1,000 doesn't even touch it with 5 districts and all of these kids and all of these volunteers. So fundraising is another way that I and several districts in Indiana can come up with the funds to do a top-notch game day.
Okay, let's talk about setup and tear down. You do not want to be a committee of one. How do you organize this?
I have a job assigned for every volunteer. So I know exactly what needs to be done. Everything from unloading boxes at 8 o'clock in the morning before the event starts at 10, setting up tents, being a lane picker. That's what we call them. The awards table, the extracurricular activity table, the food runners, every job possible. I have a list and how many volunteers I need at each of those places. And so I will show that with you, but that also includes trash pickers, and bagging it up and putting it wherever you're having it, where they want that trash to be done. In my specific area, I even have a person just in charge of water because there's so many people. You were at our last event. They bring it out in these huge crates and it's on ice. And there's somebody in charge of that, making sure that that's constantly getting refilled. I think it was 94 degrees last year. So hot. I don't know how many bottles of water we went through, but those are things that you have to think about. It also is not fun if it rains. So you have to have a rain day plan, or you have to have a cold day plan. Are you huddled together under the tent and you've got a propane heater or something? All of those things have to be accounted for.
Is this event a good fit for preschoolers and kindergartners?
This is one of my favorite questions. People ask me this all the time. What about our 3, 4, and 5-year-olds? Or what about our kindergartners? So earlier I told you I do my kindergartners. It goes kindergarten all through 8th. But many schools put kindergartners and preschoolers together and they do something a little bit different. It's still during the game day, it's still at the same place. Families are still invited, but it's stations. So it's those pre-stations of the youngest kids learning to catch, throw, and kick. So things like the parachute throw. There's a station for that. There's a station for kicking a soccer ball through the net. How many times can you do it in 30 seconds? There is a running event. Might just be two students running against each other to a location and back. There are lots of different things that you can do. Catching bubbles. We teach kids to catch with a handkerchief because a handkerchief comes at you slow and it won't hurt you. It won't bop you in the nose and make you not want to do it again. So we do a lot of teaching, and that's all done during those stations. And so the kids, rotate every 10 minutes to a different station. And that's how we do the young children. Do it in a separate location, maybe another side of the field, but they still get to participate in the parade of champions and they get to be a part of the cheering and that kind of thing. Their parents still come and root them on. But that's one way to get started slowly, especially if you're saying, I want to do a game day this year and I've done no planning. Start with your youngest kids. Stations are so much easier to plan than an actual event with heats.
Lisa, I have worked with you for several years now, and I appreciate your knowledge. I appreciate your enthusiasm. But more than that, I appreciate your willingness to share both. You are so open with folks. And if Lisa's got this information and you need it, she will be happy to share it with you. I'm going to put up a closing graphic at the end of the video here with her contact information. And if you've got questions about anything we discussed, or you want templates, you want examples, contact Lisa and she will get them to you. Okay, Lisa, we've come to our final question. Unified game day for the person that's planning it is a lot of work. Here's my question. Is it worth it?
It's so worth it. I hope to find the link that I can share with all of you about what teachers say, what administrators say, and what mom and dads say. And the mom and dad's part will just it'll make you tear up. It'll make you bawl like a baby, really. I have had parents come up to me and say, "We've always attended these events with our other children. John never got to do this before. We've never come as a family to Susie's event. Antoine's never participated in anything like this. Grandmas and grandpas come. It's just amazing. The hugs, the smiles, the laughs. It's from the very beginning to the very end, the best thing you'll ever do. You're exhausted, but it's the best kind of tired you'll ever experience.